All right, let's talk about something we all think about, lasting love. For so many of us, it feels like this huge mystery, right? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain. We're going to look at love not as something that just happens to you, but as something you can actually build, brick by brick, using a real scientific blueprint.
So, let me ask you this. Is a great relationship just a roll of the dice? Is it all about luck or fate or finding that one perfect person? That's what we're often told. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? Not even close.
You see, decades of research tell us something pretty incredible. A strong relationship isn't just something you find, it's a skill you can build. Science has actually given us a blueprint, and today we're going to walk through that blueprint step by step to see how it all works.
Okay, so every great building starts with a rock-solid foundation. It's the most important part. So for our relationship blueprint, we've got to ask, why do these strong bonds matter so much to begin with? Let's dig into the science of why this foundation is so absolutely critical for our lives.
And you don't just have to take my word for it. Dr. John Gottman, who's basically a legend in this field, puts it perfectly. Relationships are the foundation of a fulfilling life, and the science backs that up. You know, this isn't just a nice thought, it's a fact, based on decades of studying thousands of real couples.
And that science is crystal clear. Strong, loving connections, they're not just good for our hearts in a poetic way, they're literally good for our physical hearts. They boost our health, our mental well-being, and they can even help us live longer. A good relationship literally helps you regulate your emotions and makes you more resilient to all the tough stuff life throws at you.
So how on earth does that work? Well, it comes down to this amazing concept called neuroplasticity. It's just a fancy word for the brain's ability to change and rewire itself. And get this, positive relationships physically shape our brains for the better. They strengthen the parts that help us manage stress and stay calm. Think about that for a second. Your relationship is literally building you a better brain.
And this is not some new age idea, it's ancient. Biological anthropologist Helen Fisher has done brain scans that show love is deeply, deeply wired into our biology. It lights up the same reward centers as motivation and addiction. Because from an evolutionary perspective, it was all about survival. Our need for connection is about as fundamental as it gets.
Okay, foundation poured. It's solid. Now it's time to put up the framework of the house. What's the thing that holds it all together day in and day out? Well, according to the research, it boils down to something surprisingly simple. Something they call
This right here, 5-to-1. According to Dr. Gottman's research, this one simple ratio is one of the single biggest predictors of whether a relationship is going to make it or not. It's that powerful.
So what does it actually mean? It's this. For every one negative interaction you have during a conflict, happy, stable couples have 5 or even more positive ones. Now, this is not about avoiding fights. That's impossible. It's about creating this huge reservoir of goodwill and positivity so that when the negative moments do happen, they're just a drop in the bucket.
And this just shows it perfectly. Think of it like a bank account. On the left, you've got your deposits, celebrating a win together, saying thank you, sharing a laugh, a simple hug. These are the small things that build up your balance. And on the right, these are the withdrawals, things like criticism, getting defensive, contempt, which is like disgust, and stonewalling, where you just shut down. The whole game is just to make way more deposits than withdrawals.
All right, so every single house has to be able to withstand a storm, and no relationship, no matter how great it is immune to conflict. So the next part of our blueprint is all about weatherproofing, learning the skills to get through those disagreements without the whole house falling down.
Here's something that just blew my mind when I first learned it. Dr. Gottman found that he could predict the outcome of a couple's argument with 96% accuracy just by listening to the first 3 minutes. 96%. As he says, the way you start the conversation basically determines whether it ends in repair or just gets worse. It's all about the start.
And you can just feel the difference here. A harsh startup on the left starts with blame. You never listen to me. Instantly, the walls go up. Your partner is on the defensive. But look at the gentle startup on the right. It expresses a feeling, a need. I feel unheard right now. See how that just changes everything? It invites your partner in to solve a problem with you instead of making them the problem.
But hey, let's be real. We're human. Sometimes we mess up the startup. That's where this beautiful thing called the art of repair comes in. It's basically hitting the brakes and trying to steer the conversation back to a good place. It's a simple 3-step dance. First, you acknowledge their feelings. Then, you take accountability for your piece of it. And finally, you take some kind of action to reconnect. Even just a genuine "I'm sorry" can be a super powerful repair.
So, we have built the foundation, we've put up the framework, and we've weatherproofed the whole structure. Now for the final, and maybe best part, the living space. This is what makes the house a home. We're talking about building the trust and commitment that create a place where you both feel truly safe.
And you really can't talk about trust without talking about vulnerability. The researcher Brené Brown completely changed the game with this idea. She says, vulnerability is not weakness. It's our most accurate measure of courage. Building real trust requires having the guts to be seen, to be open, to be your real self with someone.
And Brené Brown also gives us this fantastic tool, the acronym BRAVING, to show what trust is actually made of. See, it's not some big abstract thing. It's built in these tiny little moments. It's about respecting boundaries, being reliable, doing what you say you'll do, taking accountability, keeping secrets safe in the vault, acting with integrity, listening with non-judgment, and being generous in how you interpret your partner's actions. Trust is really just the sum of all these little things.
And finally, we have commitment. And it's not a trap or an obligation. Researcher Eli Finkel sees it as an active mindset. It's about waking up and choosing to cherish your partner, to put the relationship first, especially when things get hard. It's about actively looking for the good.
So when you put all of this together, that sense of calm we talked about, with that deep trust and that active commitment, you create this. You create a safe haven. It's a relationship where both of you feel secure and seen and supported. And it's from that safe place that you can both go out and thrive in the world.
So, we've walked through the whole blueprint, the foundation, the framework, the weatherproofing, and the living space. What all this science shows us is that love isn't just magic. It's something we build, brick by brick, every single day. And that really just leaves one final, crucial question. What's one brick you can lay for your relationship today?